Look at the many saints sitting around this table. Look at them. Look at the caliber. Look at this Ray Liotta on one hand.
She just was relentlessly making fun of me for thinking that I was Italian in any way whatsoever. You are not Italian. You are American.
We don't do that.
This is Entertainment Weekly's Around the Table with the Many Saints of Newark.
I'm David Chase.
I'm Michela de Rossi.
John Bernthal.
I'm Corey Stoll.
Michael Gandalfini.
Alessandro Nivola.
Leslie Odom Jr.
Vera Farmiga.
Ray Liotta.
Alan Taylor.
When I was a kid, guys like me were brought up to follow codes.
Hey, jerk off. What'd you say? What?
David, why did you want to be part of this project?
It was time. I just felt I missed the Sopranos universe, and I wanted to go back there.
I think to me, because it's the American-Italian project ever. So, you know, as a native, it's like a dream.
Yeah, the same. Look, enormous fan of the show. I wanted desperately to be an extra on the show. I just wanted to be, I loved it, as did everybody. And so yeah, it's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, the same thing. I was just starting my career as the show was sort of ending, and I was desperate to play a FBI agent or something, and to be a part of it in such a great way with such a vibrant
Did you guys audition
character.
for it ever back
No,
then?
never got an
Never
audition.
got one. Tried.
No.
Never.
Did you audition? Did I hear? Did I
Me?
read that?
Who are you pointing at, me?
Yeah, Vera.
I did not audition.
Oh, okay.
No, I did not audition.
Yeah. To get to play, the character that David created, the greatest character ever, and to get to work with these people and learn a lot and start my career in this place was a no-brainer. I'm very lucky.
I guess I'd spent 25 years as a movie actor wondering why the hell I hadn't been offered a role like this. And yeah, I was, better late than never.
No, 'cause it is that thing. It's like there's so many talented people that we know. If you never meet the role, you don't get to, the world kind of, there's that danger as an artist of like you can die, you can leave here without being locked away. Like that's a lot of us, that's the fear that we have. That like, what if I never get to show what I got in here? For me, it was. I didn't know quite what I was auditioning for, but I did know that they're very secretive. But I'll tell that story in a second. But I couldn't deny that when I picked up this material, I didn't know what the situations were or what the script was, but it was inspiring to me, and so I wanted to keep walking toward that.
I wish I could say I did it for the money, but I didn't. You cheaped out on me. You cheaped out on me. I did it because look at the many saints sitting around this table. Look at them. Look at the caliber. Look at this Ray Liotta on one hand. Look at Leslie Odom Jr. I didn't even get a chance to play with these gents, but I did with them, and it's just an incredible privilege to be able to step into, honestly, one of the best roles ever written for a woman in television. And to be graced and selected by that guy over there, and to be believed in that I could do it is really humbling.
I just wanted to work with David Chase and Alan Taylor. That's it.
Wow, that's really succinct. I would say the same thing David said. I missed the Sopranos universe, and I wanted to go back into that universe and back into that voice that David created. I had sort of wandered in the wilderness of some blockbusters and had the feeling I didn't belong there. And this felt like coming home to something I felt like I really knew and loved. So that's, and no, not no.
Antonio Soprano.
I wonder if I can talk to you alone for a moment, Mrs. Soprano. On the basis of the Sanford Binet, he's high IQ.
You can't prove it by me. He's got a D+ average.
Well, he doesn't apply himself, but he is smart. The results tell us. He's a leader.
I know what I think of the final scene. Anybody else gonna?
You don't want to divulge what you think?
You put yourself on the spot. I mean, like, you asked for this.
What I love and respect about David's answer is that he will never answer, right? It's every possibility was in the room, and then we turned the TV off. But I believe he was shot. When I sort of directed some of the scenes, with that in mind. So.
I have never had that emotional reaction watching television before, of just being suspended and staring at the screen, and that incredible sense of suspension and wanting to continue. So just that emotional moment for me was all I needed. I don't want to know.
I think it's so brilliant to leave it open-ended. There's so many factors. Like, do you think Tony's a good guy? Do you think Tony's a bad guy? Do you want him to live in hell, kind of having that anxiety, always looking over his shoulder, or do you want him to die? So there's all these different things that you can think about it, which I think is what's brilliant about it. It's whatever sort of fate you believe is better or worse and which one he deserves. That's sort of how I always took it.
I imagine in the original run of the show, I can only imagine like how frustrating that must have been to get to the end of something. And also nobody was used to those kinds of ambiguous, poetic, open-ended, that's not how TV ends. We wanted
tied with a bow.
Yeah, so that was very, very new. So I can imagine how frustrating it was back then. But now, what's good is all the people that are binge watching now, there's podcasts, David has talked about it, and there's there's things you can find out there. He slipped once or twice, you know what I mean? That as soon as I finished watching the series, I went and I had all that information. There's college courses about it now, so there's so much information. There's like a conversation that you can jump into now.
I got a D-, by the way.
Yeah, in the college course.
Yeah.
As far as your nephew goes,
I'm listening.
stay out of his life.
I like that there were Melfi echoes elsewhere too, like young Tony's scene with the guidance counselor is sort of his Melfi scene. I sort of thought of Harold's lying in bed with Queen Isola as the person he confesses to and talks to.
Wow, I wish you would have told me that.
There's a lot of secrets.
I could have been better. But I love that you say that. What I thought was because for me anyway, in my college course, what I wrote my term paper about was the fact that because the central thesis of the original series was to put this mob boss on the couch, that theme runs through the whole show, in a way, America's on the couch. America certainly needs to be on a couch, and looking at our childhood and the past and the ways that echoes into the present. And so anyway, I thought that in that original run, kind of all those performances, all those characters, any one of them could have had a relationship with a therapist, that they were also rich and nuanced. Certainly.
Well,
all we wanted was...
If they were willing, right?
Right.
Having the courage
Right.
to ask for help, to identify a problem and ask for help, it's a stigma of the times as well. My Livia, Nancy Marchand's Livia, famously said, it's nothing but a racket for the Jews.
That's right. That's right.
And she wasn't willing to get help because of the stigma of the times as a woman who's dissatisfied and not knowing what she's so damn dissatisfied in life with. Is it maternity? Is it her marriage? Is it disappointment? What kind of disappointment is it? But yeah.
It's also, I think, one of the tragedies for Tony in this movie is he's sort of constantly looking to talk to someone. He's constantly looking for that in Dickie or in Johnny, but Johnny's never around or keeps disappearing, and Livia's unable to. So he really only has Dickie to go and unburden himself and ask for help. And just constantly around him, he's got no one to guide him or teach him anything. It's one of the kind of tragedies is he's just looking so much for anyone to kind of talk to him. That's why, I remember thinking in that Mr. Eckie scene, he's at first so resistant, but he sort of opens up so easily. The second
Well, and then we cut away from that scene, and we find out later that he talked about Sutter's Mill and
Yeah.
his mom and the most beautiful night of his life or whatever.
Yeah, just because I think someone asked him, which he'd never had. I mean, Dickie tried, but you know.
You never came to me.
I never. I know. I should have.
I could have listened.
Josephina would have been there.
Uncle Junior was
Uncle
dying.
Junior was dying, and that's also what's tragic is he was dying to help.
You're my nephew. I want to do whatever I can to help you. My gift to you.
I want to go to college. I can't get caught with like this.
Look, you take the speakers, right? At the same time, you say to yourself, this is the last time I'm ever gonna steal something. It's that simple.
David, is it true that you, when you were setting up the series, there was a place that wanted to do it so long as you took out all the psychology scenes? I heard there was a network that said, we'll do this gangster show, but can you just take out the therapy?
No. It wasn't set up, but we were trying to sell the show, and at CBS, to name names, and the gentleman there said, I have no problem with the murders and the robbery and all that, but does he have to be seeing a psychiatrist? And I said, yeah. And he said, and taking Prozac? I said, yeah. I said, no.
Wow.
And they're like, do people have to swear in this?
No, that he didn't mind. Just, didn't want him to appear, well, intellectual or weak.
Oh. So there's still a stigma against this stuff.
It's been hard because I didn't speak English like now. So my first challenge it's been to read the script. I spent like, I remember I didn't finish to read that when we started. All of my world, my plot, I understood that. But I remember the Leslie world, and it was so hard to me to understand because of the slang, and I was with the translator. So it's been hard, and I remember I had everything. I had a panic attack. I had because I was trying to do my best, and I had a huge responsibility. So it's been hard, but I did it.
To me, this is one of the best things about the movie, is that she was there perfectly for every reaction to what people were saying. And also, saying things, it was like she understood exactly what all the American slang was, what American attitudes were, and it was remarkable because that was her second language. And but it was perfect. And also very funny.
One of the great things about the Sopranos is how David sheds light on the kind of comic rapport between Italian Americans and Italians. And in fact, there's a whole episode called Commendatore, right, where they go to Naples to sort of discover their roots. And they get there, and all the Italians are totally rude to them and treat them like kind of boorish Americans and just like don't give them the time of day. And they're just like, they were expecting this hero's welcome when they arrive, and it's a nightmare. And, Michela really, perpetuated that relationship because she just was relentlessly making fun of me for thinking that I was Italian in any way whatsoever. You are not Italian. You are American. You cannot. It's like my cousins, and my grandfather was Sardinian, and I grew up here, feeling this sort of like, Italian identity from my father's family, and feeling like a kind of confused identity growing up, as American, but also having this kind of, European part of my background and everything. And then, you know, when I finally started going over there and visiting my Italian family, like I was like as American as apple pie. Like I was like the least Italian thing they'd ever seen, and like almost to the point where they're like wanting to touch my hair, like I'm a, you know, some kind of alien.
Yeah, the first time I went to Italy as a tourist, I thought, well, this would be great, you know, and I would try to strike up a conversation. I say, I'm from America, and, well, yeah? Yeah, Brooklyn, you've been. And I was shocked, and then I realized, why would they be glad to see you when your grandparents left? It wasn't good. Your family, Italy wasn't good enough. So I had never thought about that.
I want to add something. The thing is, I never felt judged. This is so important to me, for my job. And even if it was, you know, the biggest thing I've ever done, I never felt judged by anyone. That's why maybe I did what I did in that way.
Well, partly you weren't judged because you came in and did it perfectly. And
no, but you know, sometimes it's not obvious too. You know?
Yeah, it's funny, but hearing you talk about the struggle and panic attacks is such a surprise because I just saw you coming in and nailing it and thought, oh, this, you know, you made it look easy.
What it don't get, I can't use. I want money.
Wonder what they talk about in there.
I didn't catch the name.
Pussy.
Put him on the table.
I think I just got this jacket.
I thought about them a lot like brothers or something, like a Cain and Abel, or you know, I certainly thought those themes were in there, you know, like that these two, that the thing that I felt, or that anybody can feel when they feel limited or marginalized for something that they have no control over. Your gender, the color of your skin, your sexuality, you know, those kind of things. It's like, but your neurology, yeah. Your age, yeah. You know, but for the color of my skin, or but for this place that I'm from, you know, that you know, what could I be? You know, if I was born in that same package, you know, the kind of resentment that can build up, it's, you know, it's natural, it's human. You know, you could benefit from being on a couch about it. You know, you could also benefit from a more open-minded and less oppressive society, that's for sure. But that's what I thought about with building him, and you know, and I thought that it would help with it's all on the page, by the way. Like I didn't add much, but you know, it's, you know, they're written as close. They're written as, you know, they're friends. They stick up for one another. They, you know, and so that's complicated. That there's love there too, and it's a thin line. There's a thin line between I love you and I risk my life for you, you know. In addition to my family and stuff, you know, we're family, but you know, don't get in my fucking way either.
Yeah, I mean, this relationship, there wasn't a lot of space to develop it, but I like the contrast between the first time that we meet where no one else is around, and in that context, like, we're on much more equal footing, and I relate to you as, you know, an old friend, which you are. We've gone to high school together, and then as soon as I'm around my dad, in particular, or the other guys in Satrials or whatever, immediately this kind of like condescension and paternalistic, you know, racism just like comes pouring out, and it's clearly all for show, you know, to impress the people in the room.
Yeah, that's a reality, I think, you know. And I think Harold would have understood that. I just think that, you know, that gets old.
Let me go talk to him.
He only listens to Dickie.
Gotta do something about Dickie Malasani.
You know, through all the kind of iterations of the script that we were able to read, what became like abundantly clear to me is that, you know, David has this just ridiculously thorough, encyclopedic, sort of Shakespearean knowledge of these people and what make them tick, and their insecurities and their fears and their wants and the things that they can't express. You see so much, you know, in this movie that then goes to blossom in the series, but not in, you know, the spoon-fed, in a very complicated and nuanced and rich way. And it's staggering to me. There's things that weren't a part of this movie that you can see play out, you know, in the course of the show, that it's just, that just kind of commitment to character by a writer, it's like unprecedented. And you know that when you talk about anti-heroes, I mean, that's what it is, to understand that this is a man that's, you know, full of fear and full of hope and wants to express things and wants to say things and tries and fails and sometimes succeeds and loves so hard, and then does things that are just, you know, the courage to turn your back on the audience and do things that are absolutely despicable. You know, you know, to me, all the characters, you know, from the show, it was a revolution. You know, and to see it so thoroughly kind of explored in these characters, it was as a fan, it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
He said, everybody has said, David. I just want to say that there were other people who contributed a tremendous amount to that show. I'm going to name them: Terrence Winter, Matt Weiner, Mitch Burgess, and Robin Green, and others. But I don't remember the others. But you know. Anyway, I just wanted to say that.
You lead by example. We'll make the right decision. This kid's got what it takes.
The whole process, to me, in many regards, was one of the most incredible things I've ever gotten to do in my life in many regards. First, becoming a fan of the show for the first time, never seeing it, and falling in love with the show, and not knowing anything about it. I was a kid. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was about. I didn't know it was so funny. And falling in love with the show was an incredible experience for me, and being very proud of my dad and proud of everyone that I have known for a long time. And then going through a very rigorous and complicated audition process where at first I was conflicted on whether or not we should do it or what is everyone going to say, and then slowly falling in love with David's writing, and then being scared that I wasn't going to get it, and I have to think, I hope I get it. And then, you know, at the end of the day, I got to work with these people here, which has been, you know, one of the greatest gifts. This is the first time I've ever gotten emotional.
Oh, bless.
Everyone trusted me.
I just want to say about him that we all know how humble and open-hearted he was through the whole shoot, and, you know, looking to us for guidance, which, you know, not unlike Tony, was probably a bad idea, but also just that he was so able to, you know, separate out the kind of emotional side of you know, his relationship to his dad and that role and everything, and just approach it in a purely forensic way, the way that you would any character, and to get as detailed about that as possible. And I can't imagine, you know, being tasked with that myself. So.
Yeah, no, it just, it was a real gift as an actor to get to do this with these people, and for them to just trust me, and David allowing me to bring something new to it. It was a real gift.
This has been Entertainment Weekly's Around the Table with the Many Saints of Newark. It comes out in theaters and on HBO Max on October 1st.